And then I remember I couldn't move my eyes to even look and see if my kids could see me. But I saw this light up above me coming from the ceiling, and it was coming down. And I remember looking up into it, and it was the most beautiful light I'd ever seen. It was just like amazing. And I was like, wow, that's so beautiful. And I went up into the light and left my body, and I traveled through the light, and I ended up in this pure white room. And the room, I was all alone, but it was white everywhere I could see. But instantly I knew that I had died, and I was like, wow, I get to go home. And that's all I could think about. Like, I felt like a little kid at Christmas, so excited, couldn't wait to open the presents. And in just a few minutes, I couldn't wait to go home to God. And then God appeared above me, and it was up above me, above this white room. And it was behind like a curtain or something, like sheer, like there was something in between us. And then he came down and he stood in front of me. And God was tall. He was like probably 12, 15 feet tall, and compared to me. And he was pure light. Like, he was so bright that I couldn't even, like, I could see the shape of his hand. I could see that there was a shape, but he was so bright, so beautifully white, and like made out of light, that I was like just amazed. And I remember feeling the feeling of being with God was the most completing feeling that I had ever had. Like, it's so hard to put this into words and explain it how anybody on earth could understand, because I've done a lot of fun things. Like, I've skydived, I raced motorcycles, I've jumped off bungee jumping off towers, I've done I swam with sharks in Australia, I've scuba dived the world, I've done all these really, really fun things. And if you put them all together, it's not a millionth of what it feels like to be with God. That was the most amazing, incredibly completing feeling that I've ever had. It was so desirable above anything that I've ever experienced. And so God then shows me my whole life, and it flashes before my eyes. And we would stop at certain things, and I would watch it play out, and I would watch situations that I was in, and everything that God showed me was this beautiful, beautiful experience for me to grow and me to learn. The bad things that happened to me, the bad things I had done, everything was a beautiful lesson for me to learn about me. There was no judgment. There was no like I was wrong or I was bad. Everything was just beautiful, like this great lesson for me to learn. And I felt nothing but love and joy and pride from God about me. And that really kind of surprised me, because I always thought I would be judged. I always thought that I would be like found not worthy or not good enough to go home to God. But it wasn't that at all. It was just beautiful. And then we got done, and God said to me, he said, do you want to come home with me, or do you want to go back to them? And he did this with his hand. And the floor that we were standing on was white, and then it started to go foggy and then clear. And then I could see my kids below us, about 10 or 15 feet below us. And the movie was just ending. And they were making little shadow puppets in the light, and they were playing in the light. And my heart sunk, and I knew that they needed me. I knew that my kids needed a father and needed me to come home. And it was the hardest decision that I ever had to make. It was so hard to decide, like, to leave God and to go back to my kids, who I love so much. But it was that hard of a decision to decide that I would go home to them. And so I said, no. I said, I need to go back to them. They need me. I need to go back to my kids. And God said, okay, I will see you again. And I thought there'd be like a high five or a slap on the butt, say, good game, go get them. No, I'm sent back to my body. And it's like getting hit by a truck. Like, I'm up there in heaven, all blissful, everything's beautiful. Wham, I'm back in my body. The electricity hits me so hard. It's like, wham, and I'm like being fried again. And I'm like, why would God send me back to my body and not get me off the electricity? And I said that in my head, and I heard God's voice, and he said, oh, did you ask for help? So that's a really important thing. We have to ask for help. I forgot to ask God for help. We have free agency. Until we ask for help, his hands are tied. So I said, God, please help. And as soon as I said that, I felt the cord pull and move. And I went, holy crap. And I pulled on it. And like the cord popped out of my mouth. So here's the other interesting thing. God made up the impossible parts. I could be the strongest man in the world. And if I'm being electrocuted, I can't overcome that electricity. I can't overcome my own muscles. But God made up the impossible part, which was overcoming my muscles. But he still made me pull. He still made me do my effort. He still made me give it my best shot. And that's how this life works. It was a great analogy for me to understand that God makes the impossible part up, but he still requires us to do everything we can in our power.